Pastor Ed here with Daily Devotions for Tuesday, June the 18th, 2024. I want to say a little bit more about Father's Day. Didn't get a chance to talk too much about that in my sermon on Sunday. And then in the next several days, we'll talk more about slavery in the Bible, where I didn't get to really fully explore that topic either. And that's where the Daily Devotions, I think, come in handy, because there's a lot more than I can manage to put in a Sunday sermon. Sometimes I try, and people will let me know if I've gone too long. So that allows us to maybe explore some of these things in a little bit more depth. But talking about Father's Day, a cute little story about a first grade boy whose father kept bringing home office work, like just about every night. And finally, his first grader asked him why. And the father explained, well, he had so much work that he couldn't possibly finish it all during the day. And the boy thought about that for a second, and then he said, well, Daddy, why don't they just put you in a slower group? Relating, I guess, to his own experience. Dad is maybe need to be in a slower group, is the way he looked at it. A pastor by the name of Michael McCartney wrote an interesting piece years ago about what he calls dad-isms, again, sayings from dads. Here's one: get in and get out. He writes, this applied to an open door or a refrigerator. Just because you don't pay the gas and electric bills, that doesn't mean you should waste energy, he'd tell us, as we alternately let the cold air into the house or out of the fridge, deciding if we wanted to play football or have some milk. This sage advice applies to life in general. Make your choice, then move ahead. Here's another one. Quit talking about it and do it. Doesn't have to quite same ring as Nike's famed Just Do It campaign, but it's the same concept. Be smart, make an educated decision, yes, but once you've made the decision, act on it. Oh, those base on balls. To this day, when we watch a game with my dad, we'll hear him utter this phrase every time a pitcher walks a batter. He hates a free pass. You have to earn everything in life. He was also the voice of discipline, says McCartney. You better stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Well, I heard that one. That was one of my dad's favorites. This was McCartney's dad's most effective way of discouraging tears, because I don't ever remember finding out what that something was, and I'd have to agree. Don't make me turn this car around. I've heard that one too. With 4 boys crammed in the back seat, at least one child was always crossing into the imaginary DMZ between us and drawing retaliatory action by the offended party. Whether we were a block or 700 miles from home, we always took my dad's threat seriously. He would, in fact, turn this car around. And that's another one I heard growing up. Finally, he says he was and is a guy who was always there to encourage you no matter what. Keep on plugging. To this day, writes McCartney, this is probably my favorite expression of my dad's. Not only does it encourage me to keep working hard in my professional and personal life, but also implies that he approves and is proud of what I'm doing. Nothing means more than that to a son. But he had a couple more. It never hurts to ask. My dad made this his motto in his job as a college fundraiser. He adopted it from my younger brother, who once presented a detailed 12-page wish list to be mailed to Santa Claus. The lesson here is that nothing is impossible. Not asking or not trying is the only thing you'll regret. And finally, payback time, buddy. This has emerged as his latest classic, now as a grandfather. If you tell him about sleepless nights with the baby or about a kid who acted up in church, he's sure to ooze with delight. Payback time, buddy. As I say, he's there for you no matter what. And finally, I want to share a story with the upcoming Paris Olympics in mind. It's entitled A Winning Father. One of the most powerful stories in the history of the Olympic Games involved a canoeing specialist named Bill Havens. I'd never heard this one before. He was a shoo-in, apparently, to win a gold medal in the 1924 Olympic Games in Paris. I never made that connection until I was reading this, so maybe that's one of the reasons why Paris was awarded the Summer Games this year, exactly 100 years, probably from the last time they had them. But a few months before those 1924 Games in Paris were held, this Bill Havens, this great canoeing specialist, learned that his wife was likely to give birth to their first child while he was away. And she told him she could make it on her own, but this was a milestone that Bill just didn't want to miss. And so he surprised everyone and he stayed home. Bill greeted his infant son Frank into the world on August 1st, 1924, and though he'd always wondered what might have been, he never said that he regretted his decision. Well, he poured his life into that little lad, shared with him a love for the rapids. 24 years passed, and the Olympic Games were held in Helsinki, Finland. And this time, Frank Havens was chosen to compete in the canoeing event. The day after the competition, Bill received a telegram from his son that read, "Dear Dad, thanks for waiting around for me to be born in 1924. I'm coming home with the gold medal that you should have won." And it was signed, "Your loving son, Frank." Many would question Bill Havens' decision to miss his big opportunity in Paris, but he never wavered. He wanted his family to always know that they came first, no matter what. And that made him a hero to a little boy named Frank. Well, in closing, I guess it's safe to say, or important to say, that our Heavenly Father has always put us first, being patient with us, being forgiving, even sending his Son into the world in order that we might be reunited with him, despite all the things we've done to damage that relationship. We have a loving Father who puts us first. Well, hope you have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow talking a little bit more about slavery in the Bible. Until then, take care. Bye.